This is the Bugatti W16 Mistral, and it's officially the final road-going Bugatti to feature the W16 engine. As the W16 Mistral is the last in its line, you can kind of look at the design as almost being a best-of highlights of some of the previous cars we've seen in the Chiron lineup. For instance, these now vertical headlights are very similar to what we had on the Voiture Noire, whereas on the Chiron they were horizontal. This ultra-large grille right here as well, again, very similar to the Voiture Noire, but it's actually got a purpose. Not only does it make the car look a little more aggressive, but it actually feeds more air into the intercooler. Overall, though, we can clearly see that it's got a more focused, kind of pinched nose to it than what we saw on the standard Chiron. And personally, I think it looks really sleek. Another element that's purely for design, which I think is absolutely stunning, is this speedster look. So it's not a convertible, it is a speedster. You've got these ultra thin bezels around the windows, tiny A-pillars. It's still based on a Chiron. These A-pillars are from a Chiron. They're just really beautifully integrated. So it creates this look of what Bugatti calls the visor. On the Chiron, we had a massive air intake right here, but on the Mistral, it's tiny. Now there's a reason for that. So instead of cooling the oil and engine in one inlet, they've actually split it. The vent that we have here is for cooling the oil reservoir, and up here is for the engine. But at the back is arguably the most striking feature of the Mistral, because what Bugatti wanted to do is take those ultra cool X-shaped taillights that we saw on the Bolide, the track-only car, and put it onto a road car. But that was really challenging, because when you have lights that are designed for road use, they need to meet all kinds of rules and regulations, but they've managed to pull it off. What Bugatti wanted to do is, because it's an ultra sleek roadster, they didn't want to have a wing up all the time, obstructing the clean silhouette of the Mistral. So instead, you have a larger diffuser to essentially take off some of the workload of the rear wing. Naturally, the engine is the 8-litre W16 with 4 turbochargers. But interestingly, this is actually the unit out of the Super Sport. So we're actually producing 1,600 horsepower. Now, while in the Super Sport, as I mentioned earlier, if you do get the record-setting car, you can actually exceed over 300 miles an hour if you've got a long enough stretch of road and have the steel to do it. But in a Roadster, it's a little more difficult, also because you're removing a key structural element of the car. So instead, Bugatti is aiming for a top speed of only 420 kilometers an hour, which roughly translates as 260. The interior, it looks pretty much the same as the interior that we have in the Chiron. However, they have actually developed a new type of sport seat which should just hug you a little bit tighter and feel a bit nicer on a long cruise. Now, on to colors. This is really interesting. So we all know Bugatti for always featuring blue cars. There's a reason behind that. It's because when they were competing in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, they competed under country racing colors, hence why we have British racing green, Italy has racing red, and in France they have blue. But actually, Mr. Bugatti's favorite colors were yellow and black, and so they really want to go to town on that with the Mistral. Of course, if you don't like it, you can obviously get it in blue as well, or white, or really any color that you want. Because it's a Bugatti after all, it's all about you, providing you've got enough money.